So what are you doing for UT? What's the show about?
So I'm the chief marketing and communications officer for the LBJ School of Public
Oh, is that
Affairs,
right?
and they
Okay.
have, or we have, I guess, just a slew of interesting people, usually with connections to politics that come
Yeah.
through. Like
Yeah.
for instance, and I'm not a political junkie by any means, but I was fascinated on 9/11. Karl Rove came in and spoke to our students, and he was
Interesting.
telling the story of 9/11. He was with George W. Bush at the elementary school in Florida when he
Oh
was informed,
shit.
and just went through the whole what happened that day. I
Yeah.
mean, it's like I'm literally listening to history, right?
Yeah.
So the idea is just when we have people like that, and there's on a weekly basis. Are you familiar with the Texas Tribune?
Yes.
Evan Smith, the guy that founded the Texas Tribunes, is now a professor at the
Okay.
LBJ school, and he has guests that come on every week. And between him and
Okay.
other folks, there's just so many cool people coming through all the
Yeah.
time. The idea is just to, if they have 15 minutes, 15, whatever, if we can spend an hour with somebody,
Yeah.
just to leverage that and turn it into content that helps build the profile of the school a little bit more, and just as another way to kind of organically get people talking about what we
Yeah.
do.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
And yeah, I bet 15 minutes, Karl Rove. Did he write what happened? Did he write that book? You know what book I'm talking about?
I don't know if he did. I'm not, like I said, I'm not a political junkie at all.
Yeah.
I just went because it was a big name and I wanted to check it out, and then I was just blown away by the conversation.
I think, yeah, but yeah, I know. I'm sure that's interesting. So who else do you or have you started the show?
No, we just bought equipment and I'm kind of putting
Okay.
it together. I think I'm gonna host it and
Okay.
trying to decide a role. There's a most units at UT that are academic are run by a dean, and we have a dean who is a cool guy. And I'd
Nice.
like to incorporate him into it. He probably doesn't have the bandwidth to be like a co-host, but I'm trying to figure out, maybe there's a segment that's an opening segment with him where you kind of,
Mm,
almost do a little infomercial on what's going on with the LBJ
okay.
school, and then you get into a guest. So I'm
Yeah.
kind of conceptual. I'm kind of building the plane as we're going to start flying it.
I like it. Well, Paul, thanks for coming, man. So
Yeah,
we,
it's
we
great to
jumped
be
we
here.
jumped right into it all, but you told me you went to go watch the Horned Frogs last night, and I don't know, did y'all win?
We did, we
All
did.
right.
We played Deion Sanders, Coach
Oh,
Prime,
that's
and
right. It was a Colorado game.
we covered on a fourth down play ahead
Mm.
by a touchdown with about a minute left. It was kind of a fun outing, but I'm a college football junkie fanatic. I was in Arizona last week to watch TCU play Arizona State. That was a heartbreaker. We lost after leading 17-0, and I understand you were in College Station
Oh
doing the
yeah.
same damn thing.
Yeah, man. We had a tough first quarter, pulled it out there in the second half. We got a good swat. I mean, hell, we haven't been 5-0 in a very long time.
No,
So.
looking good, man. That Notre Dame game showed me something for sure.
Well, I think it showed the team something,
Yeah.
I think it kind of woke them up. But anyway, so, well, that's cool. Well, thanks for coming down and hanging out on a Sunday. So, we'll just start from where you're from, man. What's your story?
Yeah, kind of from all over the place a little bit, but I grew up in the Midwest. My
Okay.
my family's from Youngstown, Ohio, and we lived in Columbus, Ohio until I was like 12 years old or so, and then we moved to the suburbs of Chicago. So when I
Okay.
kind of talk about home where I grew up, I tend to think of Chicago as that sort of, because I
Yeah.
guess because I went to high school there and
Okay.
whatnot, but I don't have anybody that lives there anymore. And then I've moved around throughout my adult life for work a little bit. I came down to Fort Worth from Chicago to college, so that was
Okay.
my first exposure to
You're right.
Texas. So from all over the place a little bit.
Nice. But Midwest is the
Midwest, and
home.
and my mom is the musician of the household. She
Okay.
was we grew up in a Catholic family, and she played organ and sang at the
Mm-hmm.
Catholic church, and she would do Saturday mass by herself, just
Oh,
her
really?
singing and her on the organ, and I would be the tag along quite
Yeah.
often. And she was really the also one of the world's greatest automobile singers ever. Yeah, she was piping out, whatever was big in the early
Hmm.
1980s when I was a little guy, and had
That's
plenty of
funny.
exposure to singing and just music from her.
All right. And so, was it just her, or did y'all have like a family band situation, or?
No, just her really. My brother, who's about 7 years younger than me, got into playing music first, and he's an incredible bass player. I was talking to you a little bit about bluegrass off
Yeah.
the air and
Oh yeah.
mentioned he does a stand-up bass thing. But no, I sang in some church things, and I got selected to do some like school plays. I was usually the person that was picked to sing a solo for
Mm.
the male students. I was just kind of picked, and did like some community music theater stuff as well. But our house, we were three boys, and our father is like a sports guy, and it was like
Mm.
sports. That was like what
Yeah,
we
that
did
was
was football, basketball, baseball, whatever season it was. That was kind of what we did. So I got into music a little bit late, and a little bit of a weird route
yeah.
led me into music. But
Okay.
other than my mom playing music, my dad was and still is loves to listen to music, and a lot of the stuff that I listen to and some of the stuff that I've covered over the years, like like Waylon Jennings and things like that, I was
Yeah.
exposed to through my old man. So he definitely contributed too.
Okay. And so you said you started late, but I mean, how long have you been playing music?
About 10 years.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
and I'm 50, and I started at
Wow.
40. And
Whoa.
it's kind of a crazy story, or a weird pathway, if you want me to take you
Y-
through it. It's
Take me through it, man.
okay. So I started to really listen to music. I went to my first Grateful Dead show when I was 15, and started getting into the Grateful Dead, and really kind of became like a big Deadhead in college. And then I went to the last shows that Jerry Garcia played live at Soldier Field in Chicago in
Oh man.
1995, and then he died about a month later. And kind of to fill that void of, I was really just starting to sort of get obsessed with a certain band, the Dead, and then they weren't playing anymore. And some friends that were into the Dead got me into the band called or a band Widespread Panic. I don't know if you're
Oh yeah.
familiar with them, from
Hmm.
Athens, Georgia, jam band, been around forever.
Yep.
So I got real into Widespread Panic. Like if they were playing within like 7, 8 hours of me, I would go drive and go see them play. Right. So hundreds of live Widespread Panic shows I've been to. And
Awesome.
when I was, I guess I was about 30 or so, I got a cool gig with the New Orleans Saints football team,
Oh, really?
doing public relations for the Saints, and I would travel with the team. Really cool job, and what was cool about the job was it opened a lot of doors for me in New Orleans. And New Orleans is an incredible music town, and
Right.
I just started kind of using my access to cool things with the Saints to be able to get access to cool things from a music standpoint. So like
Good on you, man.
the club Tipitina's is a pretty
Yeah.
famous club in New Orleans. I had a deal with one of the guys that managed the place where anytime he needed to go to a Saints game, he would hit me up and I'd get him tickets to a Saints game, and then they would put me backstage for any show I wanted at Tips. So
It's the way the world
I
works.
started see it was great, right? So I did
Good
a
for
lot
you.
of that, and I got to know the music community in New Orleans a little bit. And there's a bar that I just love. It's the greatest music bar to me in the world. It's called the Maple Leaf Bar. It's on Oak Street in New Orleans. It has live music 7 nights a week.
Okay.
It has a standing gig with like George Porter Jr., who's maybe the best bass player. He was a bass player in the Meters. Anyway, started hanging out at the Maple Leaf and became sort of a regular there.
Okay.
And got to know the owner, who is a New Orleans legend. His name is Hank Staples, and he's known for being really hard to find to book bands at the Maple Leaf. It's hard to
It's hard to track them
it's hard to
down.
pin this man down, right?
Okay.
And through my Saints relationship and Widespread Panic, Widespread plays back in that era. They would play these kind of I don't know, signature shows, I guess, in New Orleans. They would do a Halloween show most
Okay.
years. They would always be there for a jazz fest. They would come a couple times a
Yeah.
year. And I got to know the crew from Widespread through my Saints connection. I would hook them up with a box of autograph stuff or whatever, tickets if the timing was right, that kind of thing. And I
Yeah.
got to be buddies with their sound guy and their guitar tech during that time. And Actually, also through that relationship, I had John Bell, the lead singer for Widespread Panic, sing the national anthem at a Saints game, which was the
That's
cool.
pretty
I was
cool.
sitting with him and his wife watching a football game. It was surreal. This band that I've like been fanboy over for,
You're just
you
hanging
know,
out, eating
it,
popcorn
it was
with.
just wild, right? I'm just shooting the shit with JB from Panic. It was crazy. Um, but so through those relationships, I kind of became friends with the crew. And one of the guys on the crew, he was the guitar tech for Michael Hauser, the original guitar player in Panic who died of cancer. And after Michael died, um, this guy, Sam Holt is his name. He started a band of his own called Outformation, not information, but
Hmm.
Outformation. And it was just a cool band that Sam's playing style sounded a lot like Michael Hauser, and it just was like it just was kind of just exactly for me what I liked
Okay.
musically.
Yeah.
And I wanted to help those guys out. And because of my relationship at the Maple Leaf, I started shooting the shit with this guy, Hank, at the bar. And he said, well, why don't we book them? And so I booked Outformation, first show I ever booked, and it did well. And through these Widespread Panic connections, I had access to a bunch of other bands from Athens, Georgia that wanted to play in New Orleans.
Hmm.
And I also developed some connections in Mississippi through there was when that guy Michael Hauser died, the first replacement guitar player was a guy named George McConnell, who's from Mississippi, and he played in a band from Oxford, Mississippi called Beanland that he was a guitar player, and Widespread's keys player JoJo Herman was the keys player there. Anyway, through that relationship, I got to know Mississippi too, and I just started booking bands at the Maple Leaf. So I got into music first as a booking person,
Okay.
and then I started to branch out a little bit, just doing it as a side hustle while I was working for the Saints. I got hired by a trumpet player in New Orleans who's a horrible person and went to jail for robbing the New Orleans Library Foundation. His name's Irvin Mayfield, but he's also won a Grammy. And I worked as his publicist as a side hustle. And
Publicist, was it were
actually,
you publicist during the
no,
incident?
thank goodness
Okay.
I
Wow.
wasn't. I wasn't. I was his publicist during Hurricane Katrina, which was an interesting time, and he wrote kind of like almost like a jazz opera type of a piece after Hurricane Katrina that was a really, I thought, a brilliant piece of music. So I got to know music through the business side,
Okay.
and not playing at all. And actually, I had a friend here in Austin. His name's Jason Hicks. He's more of an event guy now, but he used to put on live shows in Austin, and we used to collaborate on some stuff
Okay.
here in Austin too on occasion. So it was
Nice.
a fun time, and I got to know music that way. And during that time where I was booking bands at the Maple Leaf, my little brother was in college and put together, maybe a second or third band, and it was just a kick-ass band, and we got them down in New Orleans to play at the Maple Leaf. And these kids were 21 years old from Ohio University, and they crushed it so much to the point that they got offered a residency at Maple Leaf, and they contemplated maybe taking a semester off
Yeah.
and seeing what happened. They didn't end up doing it, but it opened my eyes to seeing my brother being capable of
Mhm.
playing on a stage like that.
Yeah.
And I had fun, jamming and playing around with friends. I was always a good singer, and I would maybe beat on some percussion stuff or
Yeah.
whatever. And it just gave me a different level of belief that I could do it. So it sort of put that idea in my head. And then fast forward maybe 10 years or so, I'm living in Dallas, and I'm turning 40, and we're gonna have a party for my 40th birthday party. And I reached out to that guy that I mentioned, Sam Holt, that was the guitar tech for Panic and had that band Outformation. And
Mhm.
he was playing on occasion with a guy named Daniel Hutchins, who was part of a band called Bloodkin from Athens, Georgia. And
Okay.
Bloodkin was around for years and years, and they never made it like Widespread did, but they were in those same circles. And Widespread probably covers 5 or 6 Bloodkin songs that Danny Hutchins wrote, and he's just a brilliant songwriter. Anyway, I flew Sam and Danny Hutchins in for my birthday, and my brother played bass with them, and then a local guy that I knew played drums. And I put that together, and again, it's right in front of me. My brother is performing with these
Mhm.
guys that were really heroes of mine musically that I just love their music, right? And my brother's doing that, and I just said to myself, I can do this. And from there, I had a buddy in my neighborhood who we'd kind of shot the shit about getting together and just trying to learn some songs. He was a guitar player,
Okay.
and we started playing in my garage, just learning songs, him on guitar and me singing. I'd never even picked up a guitar. I'd taken piano lessons as a kid. I realize this is a long story, but I'm getting
No,
there.
this we're hanging out,
I'm
man.
getting
We're
there. I'm
hanging
getting
out.
there. So this guy, Tom Relihan is his name. Tom and me, Tom had been in a band in college and was I would say hadn't picked up a guitar in a while, was kind of relearning and really learning, me, and we were learning songs. And I have these friends in Fort Worth that I know through my TCU ties that are fabulous musicians that I would jam with over the years. One guy, his name's Brian Roach, and his house literally is just a studio. He lived
What
by
a
himself, and he
dream.
just made it his house a studio.
Yeah.
And he had been playing with this drummer named Brian Tadlock since they were like 13 years old, 12 years old, and they're
Okay.
just really good. There's another guy that plays guitar with them, and Roach plays bass and guitar, and he bounces around on any instrument. Tom, my buddy in my neighborhood, and I that were learning songs in the garage, we started once a week going out to Fort Worth
Hmm.
to play with these guys because they were way better than us and they sort of taught us how to be in a band.
I
So for
see.
like maybe like 6 months, every Tuesday, we were driving out to Fort Worth after work and we would play
Okay.
music with these guys from, like 7 till 10 p.m.
Now, are you just singing or are you
I'm
playing
just
actually?
singing.
Okay. All
Yeah, I'm
right.
just I'm just singing and learning really to be a singer. I
Mhm.
had always been able to sing and hold a tune, but
Yeah.
to be
Stage
able to get
presence and all
timing
that.
and
Yeah.
and stage presence, everything. So
Yeah.
it was like we were like in boot camp to learn to become a band. And at some point, my friend Roach said, "Hey man, I'm sick of you guys coming out here. You guys need to take a break."
Huh.
He's like, I'm tired of playing the same shit with you guys. We were learning the same songs over and over, right? And
Yeah.
and at that point, I was like, all right, well, I guess let's try to do something with this. And Tom, my buddy that I'm starting the band with, his dad was in another band and played bass. So we corralled his dad and we got the drummer that played at my 40th birthday party. And we played a neighborhood barbecue, 4th of July thing.
Perfect.
And that was the start. And there was a bar in our neighborhood in Dallas called the Step Up Lounge. That's a music bar that's just a dirty, divey place. And I got the bartenders there to hire us to play a gig, and we got our whole neighborhood to come out. We probably put like 400 people in there.
Mm.
We were terrible,
Didn't
absolutely
matter.
horrible. We didn't even have a name of the band. The bartender asked me, "Okay, well, I'll book you. What's the band called?" We had a playlist on Spotify we were going back and forth with on songs we were learning called Bandolero, and I said Bandolero because that was the playlist, and that's the name of the band, and the band still plays in Dallas on
Nice.
the regular to this day. But that's what led me that long what do you say circuitous? I can't say that word. That indirect route that
Mhm.
really started with my love for the Dead and Panic sort of led me 10 years later into starting a band and haven't stopped since.
That's fun, man. You turned a passion for music into just a functional reality to what you were doing.
No, no doubt about it. And and
That's
and I just loved every aspect of music and to be able to play songs that moved me with friends to be able to sing them and it was just like I would say there's two things that I activities that I do in my life where I think I'm totally living in the moment where I'm not thinking of anything else. And one is riding a snowboard and two is
mm,
being with a band and singing a song or playing a song. Those are the two times I think where I'm just completely in that zen,
yeah.
living in the now, right? And I don't think there's a feeling better.
Man, I never really thought about it that way though. Because I mean, you're right. You are in the moment. You kind of have to be in the moment.
Got
If
to be.
if you if you distract yourself, it's going to come out and playing for
No
sure.
doubt. Oh, for
Well,
sure.
and especially if you're singing. So do you pick up a guitar now and
I do. Yeah.
strum?
So
Okay.
so I started learning guitar during COVID and
Yeah.
funny plug to the TV show Shark Tank. There was some little device that some guy hawked on there that was called Chord Buddy. It's like a
Yeah, I've
little
seen
thing you
that.
put on the
Yeah.
because I got a guitar. The guitar player from Bandolero, a guy named Rick Sukar, who's a great player. He helped me get my first guitar. He picked out a nice Martin from like the 90s, nice like a dreadnought
Mm.
nice first guitar, and
Yeah, I'd say so.
I struggled like hell to learn it. and that stupid chord buddy thing was like my breakthrough. And it had little color buttons that you press to play, like I think it's a D, A minor, an E minor,
It's like
maybe a
all the
C and a
basic
G. Yeah, all
chords.
your basic chords, right? And so I went from that, and then the colors of those buttons, then I got little colored dots, and I put them on under what strings I needed to play for those chords.
Whatever
I
it
just
takes, man.
transitioned that way. And I'm a pretty basic guitar player, but I play, I do gigs where I just me and a guitar now.
Yeah. I mean,
So it's taken some time to get to that point. Obviously, you've played guitar, you said, for over 20 years. So imagine it's been about 5 or so from
yeah.
me.
Damn. I mean, props, man. Cause I mean, and you figured out a way to do it and do it quick and efficient. And, for me, who cares how you figured it out, how to do it? You figured it out.
And with
So
this music thing, I've always
that's
been one to put myself out there probably before I'm ready and just kind of have to do it.
well, because
And
you're having fun with it.
exactly. So I
Yeah.
started playing some gigs probably before I was ready on guitar, but you know what? I learned quickly, and
Yeah.
and it's been fun.
So you put out a couple albums.
Yeah.
Most recently, excuse me, Just a Joker.
Yeah,
So, but you put out Glow in 2022.
I did.
So,
Yeah, I started writing songs pretty quickly
okay,
when I learned guitar fast. I'm a creative person. I'm a my initial background really is as a writer, as a journalist. I wrote
okay,
as a sports writer, I'm good with words, right? So I
right,
had words in my head already,
yeah,
and then as I started learning guitar, it was pretty natural just to start putting together chord progressions. And I wrote a country song that's on that album Glow, and it's a funny song. It's the first song I ever wrote, and it's the most simple song in the world. It's like G C G D G C G D over and over, right?
three chords and the truth, man.
It's the truth, it's like kind of the most listened to song that I have on Spotify to
Yeah,
this
you got
day.
a
Like it
couple
still
that are
does
up
pretty
there.
well. So it's called So Much Damn Better, but it's the first song I wrote, and I was hardly competent on guitar when I wrote
That's a great
it.
story, man. So, what is your songwriting process? I mean, do you have a kind of a standardized way of doing things? I mean, are you
No,
just
I
kind
really
of
don't. Sometimes it's the music comes first.
yeah,
Sometimes the words come first.
okay,
I'll say if I'm in a situation where I don't have anything to do and I'm bored, that can be a time where I'll write some lyrics. Riding on an
hmm
airplane is a place where I've written lots of lyrics. I just use my phone and just do it in the notes section
yeah,
of my phone. And I'll do the same thing when I'm goofing around on the guitar. I have a rehearsal studio at a complex in North Austin, and I go in and practice quite a bit, and just playing the guitar once in a while. I'll hit some kind of a pattern
hmm
or some kind of tone or whatever that I dig, and I'll write that down and then write songs that way. So it kind of just depends,
it really
really,
depends.
how
Um,
how it's done. And I would say the other thing that is kind of cool is if I'm writing with somebody else, which hasn't happened too often, but there's a guy in Fort Worth in that group of guys that I mentioned earlier that I play with. His name's St. Clair Newburn, and he and I
hmm,
kind of just have a chemistry as far as that
yeah,
goes. And he's contributed to a couple of my songs where he's given me a riff, and then I've looped the riff and written lyrics,
okay,
or over like a chord progression or whatever, and
yeah,
kind of done things that way too. So there's really no one way to go about it. But what I typically do is I'll write the song basic for me playing it on the acoustic guitar and sing it. And then what I've typically done is take it to my friend Roach that I mentioned previously, to his house in Fort Worth, and we would work them out into demos and really
okay,
um, utilize the creativity of my friends there that are far more accomplished musicians than
yeah.
me, but I'd come in with the song and the ideas, and they would help me build it out. And then from there, when I got to a point where I liked it and felt good about it, then I was taking it into the recording studio for one of the 2 albums I've done.
Okay, so did you record both albums up in
In
Dallas?
Dallas, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I record at a place called Sunland Sound. It's a home studio, a guy named, Michael Smith. Michael's, currently in, Stan Lynch from, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers has a new band
Mhm.
that's a touring band, and Michael's the lead guitar player in that
Oh, is that
band.
right? Okay.
But his studio is it's awesome, man. He got this, soundboard that's it was built in the 1970s for a choir in Europe,
Mm.
and I can't remember the name of the brand. I should be able to rattle that off, and I don't remember. But it's an analog, old school analog
Yeah.
thing, and it was in a box for 40 years. And a friend of his, turned him onto it, and he took out a small business loan, and he bought this. It's like a six-figure purchase,
Yeah. Oh
okay?
yeah.
The sound on this thing is fucking unbelievable. And then
God
Michael's got a wall of
damn.
guitars about double of yours, and he's got all kinds of different guitars that um, part of the deal with working with him is he plays multiple guitars on all my tracks.
Oh, that's cool.
So he
Was
runs
that
the mix, he mixes, he's got the board, and then he also plays guitar.
was that something you requested, or is that kind of his deal? That's kind of his move.
Well, so how I got into the studio, I was just writing songs, and I had about like maybe 12, 15 songs that I thought were decent.
Hmm.
And I met this dude named Nate Widan. Nate's a drummer. Nate had been in Nashville. He moved out there with a band that he had been in, that sort of got big from Dallas. And as that sort of fizzled out a little bit or changed, he was playing on demos in Nashville. So
Okay.
as I understand it, and this is how he explained it to me, there's um, as you're a songwriter and you've got a song that you think is really good and you're going to present it to a recording artist, there's sort of that middle band that puts together demos to
Right.
share your song. So
Yeah.
he was kind of that guy, and he
Okay.
got to know production that way. And he moved back to Dallas, where he's from Nashville. I met him at a party at somebody's house, just common friends shooting the shit.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, I'm working with this guy, Michael Smith, and why don't you come in and we'll see if you want to, how it goes recording songs." And so he really helped me learn how to work in a studio, and brought me into Michael's studio and introduced me to Michael. And
Yeah.
um, the second record I did with Michael without Nate, but Nate was the gateway to me getting to know Michael, and really holding my hand through the process of understanding how work gets done in a studio, and how you take a song, and turn it into something that you're proud of to put out
Yeah.
commercially.
I mean, in 10 years, you're learning guitar, you're learning how to front a band, and you're recording with some pretty solid, sounds like session
Yeah.
musicians. Do you ever think that because it's only been 10 years that you're just like, screw it, let's just go at it, and not basically you don't have all these reservations of maybe somebody who's been doing it for so long and like, oh, I know I'm not good enough yet in this aspect, so
Yeah,
I'm not
I
going to
didn't
do
know
it.
what I don't know,
Yeah,
right? And that
exactly.
and
Exactly.
sometimes ignorance is a good thing,
Yeah.
because I guarantee you there were times where people were like, "What the fuck is this guy asking me to play at this?"
Yeah.
But enough things worked out in my favor. And I'd say the other thing is just being older. I've worked pretty good corporate jobs over the years. So
Yeah.
I have a house, and I have a kid in college. So I have a
Okay.
little bit of money to be able to pay for something
Yeah.
like this as well. That, when you're a young musician scratching and clawing your way up and you're just doing music, you probably don't have a pot to piss in. So,
Yeah.
I also had that advantage where I could pay for some studio
Well,
time.
and unfortunately, that's such a strong reality to getting into the business is having money to get into the business, which then you don't get paid at that point in the business. So how the hell are you supposed to have money?
It
It,
it's
dude,
it's
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 just a
it's it's it's
wild,
such a circle, right? And
wild circle,
yeah,
man.
and the guys I play with regularly in Austin, most of them are full-time musicians.
Who's that?
There's a guitar player named Anthony Calkins,
Okay.
that plays with me when I do band gigs. And Anthony's a great example of working your ass off to make it. So he plays guitar in, four or five different bands.
Anthony Calkins.
Calkins,
Okay.
yes, Caulkins. Great player. He went to school, college for music, and studied music composition, and he's a very talented guy, and can play in so many different styles. And but what he does in his life is he's, in four or five different bands, including his own, and plays with people like me.
Yeah.
He'll pick up wedding gigs when he can to
Mm-hmm.
make extra money. He has a sound company where he runs sound. He plays church gigs. He does sound church gigs, all those little things. And he's got a little girl and a family, beautiful family, and another child on the way. And he
Congrats to
works
him.
his ass off, man, doing all of that to be able to make music happen, right?
Yeah.
You know, for me, the way I've come into it, it's almost like I feel a little guilty that
You
I
know,
haven't, you know,
uh,
had
yeah,
that hard labor process that he has,
yeah.
and you see a lot of that in Austin for sure. I think it's actually a cool thing, and I also think it's really challenging to build continuity in a band. To be honest with you, that
Mm,
there's so many different gigs people have to take to
mm.
be able to make ends meet.
Yeah, I never really thought about that continuity aspect, but, Katrina Kane and I do you know Katrina
I
Kane?
know the name, yeah.
During our conversation, she was telling me how she would love to be able to pay her band to just be her band,
Yep. Yep.
but it's just not realistic with, where she's at right now, and that's totally fair. She's not gonna, like, safeguard her boys or,
Absolutely. No,
but
it's tough.
yeah, no, it's tough, but I will say there's a lot of people in this city that feel the need to really voice the importance of paying musicians, and I think there's just a strong community around that. But the functional reality is, like you said, people are doing 4 or 5 different things just for the love of the game, man.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
well, not just for the love of the game to make ends meet, but also because they love music and want to be doing that and don't want to be at a desk job or whatever.
And I
So
respect the hell out of it, right? I really
absolutely,
do, you know?
absolutely. I mean, and it's funny you say you feel guilty. I mean, this is a part-time gig for me, not even part-time. This is just a passion project for me,
Love it.
right? And
Yeah.
so, I'm a builder in my professional world, but, so I get to come in here and just talk about music in my little house studio, and I have so much respect for somebody who just is grinding.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's just
absolutely.
such a high level, and yourself included, man. So let's talk about this new album a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Please.
what was I guess, what was the premise? Was it like, "Hey, I got 15 songs," and I know there's not 15 songs, but I got these 15 songs, I'm gonna go lay them down, see what happens,
It was really
or
to
is
me, you know, I put the first album together, Glow, and it turned out really good. Some songs better than others, and I just learned so much, not just about working in a studio,
yeah,
but I also learned a lot about writing songs, and I just am getting better at it, right? And I had this material that I was playing live that I really, really liked and I thought was good. And I also had some good demos of it that I did with my friends. And I just committed to finding time to get in the studio and get back in and record them because it was during that time where I was playing those. I will say I was not my pathway to playing live in Austin has been one that it hasn't gone as easy as I hoped.
mm,
And so there was like a lot of stops and starts going on with what I was trying to do live musically. And it was just for me, you know, I said, you know what, I've got these songs I like. Why don't I just take a pause and go and get in the studio
okay,
and bang these out? And I did three of them first, like in 2023. Three of the songs on the album I recorded then, and I released them as singles. And then it took me just based on life and what was going on, and when I had time, I was able to then carve out a week in March of or February of 2025 to go up and record the final four songs and finish the album,
okay,
and then put it out
yeah,
as a just a 7 song album.
yeah. And so you said, I mean, it really came from not from the start and stop. Do you think that was due to bandmates? Was that just life? Was that just hard to break into the scene?
All of the above a little
Yeah.
bit. You know, I was in this band in Dallas for 10 years, the one that I started in my
Mhm.
garage, and it was it ultimately became and to this day it still is a band that plays about half Grateful Dead and half well, at one time half Allman Brothers. Now there's a lot of Widespread Panic in the band too. So
Yeah.
it was all the bands that
Yeah.
I liked. So it was like my total fun cover
Yeah.
project. I kind of just got lucky as hell, I think, with that band,
Mm.
and everything just came together. And I remember like when I started, it was again my buddy, his dad, and me playing in the garage. We did a Craigslist ad for a guitar player, the first lead guitar player we had, and he was a real good player and fascinating dude, the older guy that was like real moody, would get mad and storm out of practice and stuff. Just an interesting
Interesting.
dude. But he had a high level, first of all, I say, of professionalism that helped me understand a little bit more of how I needed to be,
Mm,
just behaving as a band
yeah,
leader and
I see.
being able
Okay.
to work. But he said to me, he said, "Hey man, you got to pick a lane. You guys are doing this Grateful Dead stuff. Why don't you just focus on that?" So we were just playing a bunch of random ass covers
Yeah.
of songs that I liked, and we kind of honed in on that. And then that guy left the band, and I ended up meeting through a mutual friend, a drummer and a guitar player who were in a different band that was kind of doing like Wilco covers.
Okay.
And the guitar player he was just learning how to play slide guitar, like kind of Dwayne Allman style
Mm,
slide. He wanted to play some Allman Brothers, and the drummer was a Deadhead and Panic guy like me. And I was able to get them to join the band, and when that happened, it kinda took off because they were next level players, and that band then, I can remember that guitar player that I just mentioned from Craigslist. I told him I wanted to get to be $1,000 a gig band, and he laughed at me, and that band, is like a $1,500 a gig band now in Dallas. So everything just kinda came together with it, and we got
I
better
love
and
it.
better and added better, and we changed the lineup. It was a weird deal when my friend Tom had to fire his dad as the bass player, and Tom moved from guitar to bass. It was, some fascinating stuff happened. We had a
Yeah, that's
keyboard player that
interesting.
we also he had shoulder surgery, and when the fill-in played for him, we realized the fill-in was a lot better, and we kind of made a
Uh,
movement there too. So learned some weird things
yeah.
like that. But I say all that to say that things just worked in Dallas for me, and that
Yeah.
band got a big old following, and it played every cool venue that there is in Dallas, and played like at a big Clyde Warren Park is a huge park in
Mhm.
downtown Dallas. We played there a few times. We got to do like Halloween gig during COVID. They had like
Oh, that's
little
cool.
cones placed 10 feet away from
Oh
each other that
god.
you could go hang
Yeah.
out at.
Yeah.
Wild times. But things went so well with that that I maybe was naive when I got to Austin and
Mm,
thought that things would come together real easily like
yeah.
that. And it just hasn't. I found it was first of all just getting to know players, and then
Yeah.
also learning that in Dallas most people are not full-time musicians, and in Austin most of the really talented people, or not most but a lot of them are, right?
Yeah.
And so that dynamic was different, and just I would say it's more competitive here than Dallas for sure.
Hmm.
And also I was kind of sort of half-assing what my set list would look like. I was
Okay.
I didn't wanna take on the whole Grateful Dead thing again, but I was taking some of the Allman Brothers songs and some Southern rock stuff, and
Okay.
putting together a hodgepodge of stuff like that that was probably not super well focused.
Just
And
trying to figure out your identity
yeah,
down
yeah.
here.
So all of that was just kind of that's what I think kind of the stops and starts were probably somewhat self-inflicted
Yeah.
for the
Okay.
approach I was taking, and then also just learning a new city and getting acclimated to the music community, playing open mics and shit like that to
Did you
get to meet
move
people.
for music?
I moved to work at UT,
Okay.
but music was certainly,
Yeah.
something that
Yeah.
would be part of it. I actually released Glow right after I moved here.
Oh, okay.
I had done all that work up in Dallas while I lived there, and then I released it right shortly after I got
So,
here.
have you gone to things like I saw you went to the Hideaway, or you've been going to Hideaway?
Yeah, love that. That's really been how
I've
I've met all
okay.
the people that I've played with,
Have you
really.
gone to Music Mixer?
I didn't have a good experience with that.
Okay.
I kinda got pissed and left it. That I didn't really care for how that worked out. It's hard when you're when, I while I'm okay, chord guitar player on acoustic,
Mhm.
I'm not gonna be able to go and play guitar at a jam and be confident about it unless
Okay.
I know in advance what I'm playing and I
Yeah.
haven't been able to practice it. So when you're just singing, it's kind of a harder thing
Well,
to get
that's
in the
fair.
mix too.
Yeah.
And I would also say being an older dude probably it's not. I don't think it's probably the most helpful thing either. Most of the people like at the Hideaway are, they're like 25 to
Mhm.
30,
Yeah, it's
and
just the demographic. I
it's
mean,
just a different, some people I would say, I don't know if I'm gonna play with that old dude or whatever.
yeah.
It's never been one that's like my bands have always had different generations of
Yeah.
ages, and it's always worked. But I feel like maybe there's some of that too.
Okay. Well,
Maybe
that's
not.
fair.
Maybe
Well,
not.
Who knows, man?
You're still a little younger than me. When you it's like when I'm starting to get gray hair, I just start noticing little things here and there.
Well, no, there's definitely some rooms. I mean, hell, I'm only 35. Well, I'll be 35 in a couple weeks. But there's definitely some rooms where I look around and I'm like, damn, I'm bringing the average up age up about 5 years just by being here. So, well, that's cool. So, just a Joker. And are you working on any albums or any kind of songs right now? Are you in the studio working on
Yeah,
anything right now?
I've probably got 4 or 5 songs that I would say could be ready to go and
Okay.
record. And I would say that, right now I'm focused on trying to get people to actually check out and listen to Just a Joker. I'm really proud of how it turned out, and
Yeah.
I've really been working on doing promotional stuff for that, which is sort of a funny thing to say when I'm not playing live a ton at the moment.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it's all, the magic of the computer and trying to send a lot of emails and
social media stuff.
get added to playlists and things like
Yeah.
that on Spotify and things like that, and just working it and hustling that way.
Yeah.
I'm a marketer by profession, so it's kind of applying stuff that I do in my day job with UT
That's
to
fair
my
enough.
music and just getting it out there.
So another thing to add to this whole you've only been in the music and playing guitar for 10 years is you have a official guitar tab that somebody made of your music on
Yeah,
Ultimate Guitar.
I know.
Dude,
Blew my
that's got to
mind.
be a world
It
record
blew
of
my
like
mind, man. I was like, give me a damn break." I saw that and I was like, "Holy shit, somebody." Yeah, I have a song called Headed West that somebody made a chart on Ultimate Guitar. I was like, I was my mind was blown.
that's awesome. Was it accurate?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was great.
Damn.
It was done
Wow.
well. It was amazing. Yeah, blew my doors off for sure. That's like
I mean,
one of the coolest things that's happened to me musically that only somebody that plays music would really
yeah, yeah,
understand that, right?
exactly. Yeah, I mean, hell, I've been I mean, that's I took lessons for like 6 months of my life when I was like 11, and the rest has all just been tabs, and then eventually YouTube,
Yeah.
and then my ear started working for me.
Right,
But
right,
like,
right, for sure.
but that's just, I mean, cool anecdotal note there.
It was fun, man. It was a
Fucking
real
10
thrill.
years, man, and you're over here on guitar tabs.
I've been
Um,
lucky really in getting hooked up with people that really nurtured my own um, creativity and my own
yeah,
ability and gave me confidence to go for it, and then also helped me refine, raw songwriting to learn kind of to how to structure and writing songs with your your verse, your chorus, your bridge, etc. Just all the things that
yeah,
kind of um are second nature in songwriting. I've been lucky to have supportive people that sort
good.
of were patient with me along the way.
Are these just different musicians? Or these folks in talent, your family, maybe? I
Yeah, I
mean,
mean, really different musicians, beginning with that crew that I've talked about a few times in Fort Worth, and
hmm
just being really encouraging and like, "You got new songs, bring them over. Come on,
yeah,
let's
yeah.
play with them. Let's have fun with them." That's
So,
that's a blast, right?
so who makes up Dirty South?
So Dirty South is on the regular. I've been having Anthony Calkins, who I mentioned,
Uh
on
huh.
guitar, and there's a keyboard player named Scott Doyle that plays in a bunch of bands. I met Scott through he was playing in a band that covered some Grateful Dead, and he filled in one time for my Dallas band, but he's based in Austin.
I recognize the name.
Great player.
Okay.
He's got a really cool sort of avant-garde thing going called uh, some kind of headhunters. I have to remember the name of it. It's really cool though. It's him and a drummer and a bass player, and it's wacky, like
Hmm.
really cool, almost like I don't know. It's just like new age. I don't even know how you'd classify cool stuff. Anyway,
Okay.
him and then I've had sort of a rotating cast of characters for the rest of the band.
Okay.
I've got a guitar player that's a singer that I've met at the Hideaway Jam. I can't pronounce his last name, but his first name's Danny, and his last name is like Greek or Serbian or something with a K. Danny
Hmm.
K. And Danny K is a good acoustic player and a good singer. And I needed somebody to harmonize with me, so I found
Yeah.
him to sing harmonies.
Okay.
And so I've played with that group in a small arrangement with no drums, just literally acoustic guitar. Sometimes two if I'm playing guitar. Sometimes I don't play guitar. So Anthony playing mainly electric, Danny playing acoustic, and Scott on keys and handling some bass stuff
Okay.
on keys too. We've done some of that, but from the full band perspective, I have struggled to find a consistent and available drummer in particular, which is hugely important to really get to the point where you're tight as a band. So I've struggled there, and I've struggled on bass a little bit too.
Okay.
I've just kind of
Hmm.
plugged and played, and the quality of the band and the quality of the gig has generally hinged on the quality of those moving parts
Yeah.
and how prepared those
That,
folks were
and that's fair.
for the gig, which sometimes is there's a range there for sure, right?
Yeah. And so, kind of jumping into Austin, I mean, how we've already kind of touched on it, but what would you say? Obviously, you kind of started your career in Dallas, and you've only been in Austin for how long?
I've been here. This is almost 3 years.
Okay. I mean, what is the number one thing you've seen, good or bad, that's different from the Dallas, whether it be the fan base or, we kind of touched on the musicianship that you experienced, but fan base, the community, how it rallies around musicians. What's the big difference you've seen up there?
I think it's more competitive for sure.
Yeah.
And I would say like doing open mics and like Hideaway Jam and singing like crazy songs like singing Rush and things like that, and like Black Sabbath has pushed me to get better as a singer, and just being around talented people and seeing the musical talent has pushed
Yeah.
me, and I've gotten a ton better from a singing perspective. So there is that competitive nature where there's just a lot more people playing music at a high level. So while there's a lot of venues, there's probably the same number of venues in Dallas. Dallas is a pretty big city, but
Mhm.
you had like half the competition. So
Mm.
there's that piece is tough. And then again, I struggled with um, finding consistent players that were always going to be available,
Yeah.
and I've also had like somebody booked to play a gig that has gotten a better offer than mine, and me being kind of new on the block and not having super frequent gigs, I kind of don't have the leverage to say
Right.
don't do that, right?
Yeah.
If somebody finds a competent replacement, I guess that's okay. I mean, who am I to say, I'm paying you 150 bucks and you get an offer to make 600 bucks and this is what you do for a living. I in my good consciousness, I can't
Yeah.
say don't do it, right?
Yeah. I
That would be
mean,
wrong of me. So
of course.
there's that continuity piece has been challenging, and because of that, as I mentioned before, the quality of my gigs, I've had gigs where the band was fucking awesome, and I've had gigs where I was like, oh man, that was like hard to just hold that shit together on
Yeah.
stage, right? So it's ranged a little bit like that. So I've actually made the decision to sit back and begin. I have this rehearsal space, and I'm inviting people in to jam and play songs and see
Okay.
to try to build more longevity in the
Yeah.
band, because I've got these couple pieces that are really awesome killer players that have taken the time to learn my songs and learn covers that I want to cover as well. I just need to get that band filled out from a quality and consistency standpoint, and that's been the hardest thing for me really.
Okay.
And I've done better at getting gigs also. I've been doing the my band I call Dirty South. It's a mix of originals, but a lot of southern rock and like outlaw country
Mm.
covers. Waylon Jennings, Allman Brothers, Leonard Skinner, that kind of stuff. And I've done better at getting gigs in the hill country at places like Pootie's, and I've
Nice.
done well at in New Braunfels.
Good.
We've gotten some gigs there where maybe that kind of genre where you're marketing it is a southern rock
Yeah.
outfit.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
maybe that's easier to get gigs there. I've
Yep.
always liked that kind of music. I've always been like a big Black Crows and Allman Brothers guy. Widespread Panic has some southern tendencies. I would say they're from the South.
Yeah.
I've always liked that kind of music, but maybe it's not the most popular genre of cover to check out in Austin. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, the hill country in general, just I could see how that would work out
Yeah.
better.
It
Yeah.
it does, and
And
people dig that, and, I would go a little bit more country on the set list
yeah.
too, just to
Yeah. I mean,
you always wanna try to play to your crowd.
it's what it is. Where else have you played around in town?
Played, at, the Ice House, WTF Ice House is a
Mm,
cool
mhm.
stage. Played at Sahara Lounge.
That's a badass venue,
It is a
man.
fun venue.
I love that
In
spot.
my music booking days, um, I booked, Topaz, the sax player, whose mom and him own
Yeah.
Sahara,
Yeah.
and she's there running it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a cool connection back to my,
That's
booking
cool.
days where I booked his band with, they called it Mudphonic at that time. The drummer, I think, is named Alex Marrero. He's pretty well known drummer. The
Remind me.
guitar player is John Branch. He's a slide player. I don't think they play as a band anymore. The bass player is a guy named Bobby Perkins, who's like 6'6". He's a big old dude that plays and has been playing in Austin bands forever.
Yeah.
I'm going down a rabbit hole of just,
Well,
it's just the interconnectedness that music is cool
mhm.
like that.
Well,
And Sahara
especially in
Lounge is cool. I also live very close to Sahara Lounge, so it's like
okay.
a home gig.
All right.
And I've done a lot of. I had a regular gig at Paco's Tacos over on
Hell yeah. 51st.
51st,
I love that spot.
doing brunch there, and Mama Dearest is a
Okay.
venue
Yeah.
that we've done well at, and we'll be playing there again soon. I was supposed to be playing next week at this New Orleans restaurant called Lil Easy, and
Mhm.
they canceled all the bands that they had booked for October for some reason.
Hmm.
So
That's a good
that
spot. You
kind of
ever eaten
sucked.
there?
It's good food.
It's
I
good
like it. Yeah,
food.
that's
Yeah.
why I wanted to play there, and
Yeah.
we were gonna do a trio thing there,
Cool.
and I'm not opposed to doing different arrangements of this stuff either to just get out there,
Yeah.
and
Whatever it
that's kind of
takes.
what it's taken
Yeah.
to be able to play.
That'd be cool. That'd be a cool spot. Little trio,
Yeah.
little jazz
Yeah, I
trio
don't know
or
why
something.
they
Or
bagged it. I imagine it didn't seem like they really had a good idea of what they were doing. And I think they
Hmm.
tried it in September and it didn't go so
It's
well, and
also
then they pulled the
freaking
plug.
95 degrees
Yeah,
right
tell me
now.
about it. I know.
It's
It's I
bullshit,
play
man.
we played out at Mama Tried a few weeks ago, and dude, let me tell you, we started at 6. It was hot as hell.
I haven't been out there.
It's a cool place.
Yeah.
It's right over off of East 6th,
Uh-huh.
and it's got like a cool outdoor space with like a Airstream trailer
Yeah.
and stuff that you can go sit and hang out in. It's just a cool spot.
There's so many venues like that, man, that are just such awesome locations.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, depending on what kind of vibe you're going for, I always love Sahara Lounge. The story I always tell everybody is the first time I went, and remind me of her name, the one who
Eileen is her name.
Eileen.
Yeah.
She's taking my money, and I don't know who I'm dealing with. I'm by myself, and I'm there on Africa night because I
Oh
always wanted
yeah.
to go to Africa night.
Killer.
And
Do you eat that buffet that they have out there
no,
too?
I showed up too late for the buffet. But yeah, and so just hanging out on. Then next thing I know, I turn around, she's up there on bass, playing bass. I'm like, holy, this is Austin,
Yeah.
man.
Oh, it's cool stuff.
It's awesome. I love it. And so, do you have like a goal venue? Like I would love to go play XYZ venue.
I have places that I think that what I do would do well at,
Okay.
and another, I had another weird deal where I had a gig booked and it fell through for some reason, and I'm trying to get back in, but like Meanwhile Brewing, I think is a good. I think
Hmm.
some of the stuff I do is good for sort of that family audience. There are a lot of people come
Okay.
there with their kids and stuff,
Yeah.
and my band in Dallas, we did a lot of daytime stuff like that I've always thought is fun to kind of be in an environment where, there's a lot going
Yeah.
on and you're part of the good time scene. So I think that's a spot for sure. I mean, if I was like in a dream mode, I would love someday to play like the Scoot Inn, but I
Mm.
know that's not really in the cards just yet. But that's
Yeah.
such a cool place. It's like one of my favorite places to see a show.
Yeah. What's the last show you saw there?
I saw a kind of a jam band called what are they called? Their names are after like Dogs in a Pile is the name.
Hmm.
I saw them
Dogs in a
there
pile.
somewhat recently. Those are lyrics from a Grateful Dead song, but they're not a Grateful Dead tribute band. They're just sort of a jam band.
Have
Like
you met? So I've had two guests on the show that are jam band guys. Grady Ray
I know Grady a little bit. His band,
So
when he
what?
was in Kaduku,
Yeah.
they played on a bill with my Dallas band,
Okay.
Bandolero, so I do know him, and then he plays, or he did play, I don't know if he still is in that Widespread tribute band.
Yeah, he don't get me lying, I'm not sure as we sit here today if he is, but
Yeah, I
last
know
time
he's
we
he's
talked, he
he's
was
done
just
some of that, and he's actually this is a wild ass story. He's from Indiana,
uh-huh.
and my cousin that lives in Asheville, North Carolina, her boyfriend is a sick guitar player, and they grew up in the same town in
No shit.
Indiana. So
Yeah.
weird, weird music shit. But yeah, so
Yeah.
I do know him a
Okay,
little
and
bit.
then Zach Morgan, another
I know
keyboardist.
Zach's name. I don't know Zach. I'll tell you who's the jam band person I've known for a long time here is Josh Pearson. Do you know Josh?
I don't.
Josh is in the Talking Heads band. He also has a Grateful Dead and Fish hybrid called Touch of Trey. He was in a band called Moving Matter
Okay.
that still plays on occasion. That I think he started in Fort Collins in college and then moved to Austin. And I booked them in my band booking days. So I've known him for a lot of years, and his guitar playing is unbelievable. He plays very in the style of like Trey Anastasio, and he's really really good player.
I need you to send me some jam band stuff because man, I was talking to Zach about this. I saw Fish by accident at Bonnaroo. I went because it was Bonnaroo,
Right, right, right.
and this is 2012, and so I've listened to Fish since then just because I
They're to me the very best live band in the
yeah,
world at
well, and
this juncture.
I contribute a great time to their music and just, this is my first time ever seeing them live
Yeah,
and frankly ever like knowing about them. I just didn't know. I never got into the jam band
yeah.
scene
Well, and they're not easy to get into. You almost have to see them live to really get into
and
Fish.
a lot of people have told me that it's like with a lot of these jam bands, if you listen to their records, they're 7 minutes long. Or it
Right.
might snooze you
Yeah.
if you don't really know what you're listening to,
Exactly.
and then you watch them live, it's like,
Yeah.
I get it now.
Absolutely. To
Eh,
watch why and so much is in the jam band world is improvised, which I think if you're a player, you'll appreciate that you're seeing
yeah,
improvisation, right? And the
yeah,
communication that happens.
uh-huh.
Which we got to a point where we were doing that in my band Bandolero and I just being sort of the orchestra conductor of helping to facilitate different improvs is something that was for myself very rewarding and cool. But that's one of the things I like about that kind of music is there's elements of jazz applied to rock and roll
Mhm.
generally.
Yeah, I mean, I've watched, being a guitar guy and say what you will. I guess let me ask you this, what's your take on Mayer being part of Dead& and Co? Well,
Well,
I
so
guess
so
that
th so
is
that is not my favorite iteration of the Grateful Dead,
okay. I guess it's
and mainly, I would say it's because the guys that are still around are old and not
yeah.
as nimble as they once were, and the pace is awfully slow. I also, Mayer is a different style of guitarist, and he's obviously a brilliant, wonderful player, and he does great renditions of those songs.
Mhm.
It's not my favorite. There's a band called Joe Russo's Almost Dead that I sort of prefer as far as bands playing the Dead's catalog. That
Joe
Joe
Russo?
Russo's Almost Dead, J
Okay,
Rad.
okay.
Joe Russo's the drummer, and the band basically started as like a gag. They just kind of were playing a set of Dead music for a private party that they were getting paid for. Somebody asked them to do it, and they're really really good musicians. It's Joe
Okay.
Russo's the drummer. He's got a kit like a Peart kit. It's
Oh,
massive. He's
yeah.
a sick drummer.
30
And
piece.
yeah, the keyboard player is named Marco Benevento. He's a veteran on the jam band scene and is just a brilliant player. Tom Hamilton is the Jerry guitar player, and Scott Metzger is the Bob Weir guitar player,
Mhm.
and then the bass player, I can't remember his name, but he's the guy from Ween is the bass
Hmm.
player, and they are to me the best, the best musicians, the best interpretation of the way I like to hear the Dead. It's
Yeah.
a little bit more, it's certainly much more lively than the Dead and Co stuff is. But to answer your question, I think John Mayer's certainly done a nice job with it. It's just
Yeah.
he's he's just not my favorite style per se. I think he's a little bit more of a blues guitarist.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he is,
Clearly, I mean,
and
we know his background.
I mean, I think, God, I feel like sometimes I just repeat myself on the show, but hell, I'm talking about music, so it's gonna happen. I think live and Nokia Theater is one of the best blues albums of my generation to come out when he was doing like the heavy John Mayer
Okay, I'll
trio
have to check it
stuff.
out. I'll
This
have to
was when
check it
he was
out.
like heavy with Steve Jordan and those guys,
Yeah.
and uh, you know, heavy. Just I don't know. If you haven't listened to it, you
Yeah,
just
I
need to
haven't.
go.
I
You
will
just
for
go.
sure. You know what I think
Yeah,
is cool is I do think that he opened up new audiences to the Dead for sure.
I hell, I mean, I love that aspect of it.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
No, it's
I
cool.
mean, I think eventually, I'm a Chili Peppers guy. I
Okay.
think, I mean, and Chili Peppers have had a revolving door. That's just been part of their thing, and
Yeah.
to me, they're a band that's gonna be around forever. I don't know if they'll ever have like a John Mayer type of situation where instead of Frusciante, somebody else comes in or
Right,
whatever,
right, right, right.
but um
I just don't think you could replace Flea or Kiedis, right?
well, that's the thing. You'll never be able to place
But Jerry Garcia's
Jerry
been
Garcia.
replaced.
Exactly. Exactly. So it's like,
Yeah.
and if somebody else comes in and does that and introduces a whole other generation to Chili Peppers music, and I'm talking about like 90s Chili
Yeah,
Peppers,
yeah, yeah.
like By the Way and
Absolutely.
Californication, like those albums.
Give it away
Yeah,
now.
man, that's I mean they're yeah. Anyways, so
Well, you know what? I'd also like it was I took my daughter to the Sphere. She's 21.
oh hell
And I
yeah.
took her to the Sphere to see the John Mayer Dead,
Mhm.
as I call it. And I think her familiarity with Mayer made it more
Approachable.
yes,
Yeah.
that's the word I was looking for
Yeah.
sure. So I think there was that too.
Yeah.
And I also uh I just think that the Grateful Dead's so damn cool as far as bringing generations of people together too.
Yeah.
I would see that with the band in Dallas. We had a standing gig. They still play it at an SMU bar, and you have these frat kids are
Oh,
fanatics
I've
on the Grateful Dead. I
I've
mean,
seen them
they're just
on
fanatics.
social media.
Yeah, is that right?
What's their name?
Bandolero.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, is that them?
that's my old band.
Really?
And I'll play with them usually once or twice a year too. And actually,
I never put 2 and
the
2
guitar
together.
player and the drummer played with me at Mama Tried not too long ago, so we still play together
Hold on.
on
So,
occasion.
this just went full circle for me because 'cause I've seen those kids on social media.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. Damn, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
alright, so that's clearly I didn't I'm not following them because I don't know their name or anything, but
Yeah,
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 I've
yeah.
seen them on social okay, so
No, we
that's
so we have I mean, we love to see, like, kids that are into the Dead and stuff was so cool, right? And then we would have there's a big Deadhead crowd in Dallas. In Dallas, there was a band in the '90s called The Dead Thing that, Kenny Withrow, the guitar player from Edie Brickell and New Bohemians, I think he started this thing, and it was every Saturday at Club Dada in Deep Ellum.
mhm,
There was a band that played the Dead for this was like for like a decade.
yeah.
And so there was just this Dead community in Dallas that really goes back to that. And so, these old school Deadheads that have been going to stuff, since at least well, I've saw them going to things in the '90s when I lived in Dallas, are still coming around too. So you've got these young kids from SMU, and then you got people that are in their 60s and 70s hanging with you too. It's
Love
like
it.
nothing else. It's a cool thing, and
Yeah,
the Dead brings people together like that.
yeah. So, did some time in, did some time in New Orleans, did some time in Dallas, obviously, you're here in Austin, so what do you think about the term "live music capital of the world"?
I love it and I support it and I'm behind it. I would say to me the music towns that I think would maybe have a beef with being able to be in the same conversation, certainly Nashville, certainly New Orleans, and maybe Memphis to a degree, I think is a pretty badass music town. It's maybe a half a notch below.
Mhm,
So to me, I kind of, and I'm not a big Nashville guy.
mhm.
It's
Yeah,
not it's not my just not my thing.
you know your style, yeah.
But I would say you know having lived in New Orleans, having lived in Austin, um, I've never experienced anything like Jazz Fest in New Orleans where, um, I mean, you'd have to be in training to be able to take in all the shows because you'd go to the fairgrounds all day. Maybe you get to the fairgrounds at noon or so, okay,
Okay.
and you find your spot and you figure out what you're going to see out there, and that ends at like 6 o'clock or so. You're done. You go. Maybe depending on how much alcohol is in your system, maybe you go chill out and take a shower, or maybe you just kind of just keep on rolling. and you catch catch a bite to eat with some live music somewhere, then you've got big shows that are, touring shows that are starting at 10 p.m. Then you've got a set of shows that start at midnight. Then you've got a set of shows that start at 2 a.m. and you'll have shows that start at 4 a.m. I've just never experienced anything like that, like where I'm literally doing that multiple days in a row. You go to bed when the sun comes up, you wake up at noon and you do it again, man. I've just never
Mm,
experienced anything quite like the marathon that is Jazz Fest. But I think Austin is electric in its music scene, and the quality, as somebody, I didn't experience New Orleans really as a musician playing music. I experienced that as a fan. Experiencing Austin as a musician that plays music, I have a tremendous amount of respect for the local scene and the local musicians, and also the kindness that people showed me as I've been integrating into the community. People have been nothing but encouraging and nice, and people that have played gigs with me are to me, some of the best musicians I've gotten to hear, and I've been privileged to play with them. So what a great thing that is. And
yeah,
I also love the frequency of you're going to get any really big touring show is generally coming through Austin these days
yeah,
with Moody
yeah.
now in the rotation. I loved being able to see Fish in my own backyard
I
for
was
two
gonna say,
nights
did you
this
go to
summer.
Fish?
Oh yeah, heck yeah. Or I
Yeah,
love being able to go to see my daughter likes Casey Musgraves, to go see her with my daughter the night before Thanksgiving. And
yeah,
I saw Madonna in at Moody, so
yeah,
and all the stuff that comes to ACL Live as well, and
mm,
and other venues around town. We mentioned Scoot In earlier.
yeah,
I love all of that as a fan. I don't really go out to, like, when I was younger, I'd go out to bars and go out and just bang
sure,
around and go out drinking and stuff. I
yeah,
don't really do that without a destination or a
yeah,
purpose these days. So
yeah.
that's what gets me out in Austin for
Well,
sure.
I'll give you a destination if you ever want to. And I recently was introduced as starting the show to a destination, but Friends
Oh yeah, that's a great
on
jam. A
36.
lot of the Hideaway people play the jams out there.
There's a certain pocket of really solid, awesome musicians coming out of there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's a great
No, I
little
need to get
circle,
out
and
there. A lot of the people
um,
I've played with at Hideaway
yeah,
Jam, which is in a little bit of a Hideaway. It's not at Hideaway anymore, so
yeah,
they're
it's
looking for a new
Pershing.
location for
Yeah.
that. It was at Pershing, and then that didn't work out either.
Oh,
So
really?
the
Okay.
guy that runs it, Jim Briggs, he's a great guitar player, plays in a bunch of different bands. He's, I think, looking for another spot for that.
Okay. Well, um, hell, we'll do it in my backyard.
Love it. I'm in. Sign me up.
Man, there's just randomly a lot of there's an amphitheater right down the street.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, this neighborhood literally built an amphitheater in the middle of the neighborhood.
Oh, that's kick ass.
It's
Now, you said
actually
you're a builder. Are you involved in the neighborhood?
no, I'm in commercial
Oh,
construction.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Cool.
But yeah, this neighborhood randomly has, so Brian, he's a neighbor.
Oh, cool. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about Dusty earlier.
Yeah.
There's a lot of random neighbors in this.
Oh, that's very
There's a
cool.
lot of
Yeah,
music
I
talent.
got exposed to Brian through an open mic that, have you ever met the cello player, Dan Radin?
I watched his set on Local Sets ATX.
Okay, yeah, so, Dan
Um,
had an open mic, and, he would bring out an artist to play a few songs and tell their story, and Brian came out and did that at Dan's open mic. That's how I met him.
yeah, it is a cool thing Dan has going on. Cello, you don't really contribute
It's
with
different.
it, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
it's cool. I wanna play. I want him to play a gig with me. He was really instrumental in helping me meet people in Austin too, and
yeah,
was very
good.
kind and welcoming. And again, playing guitar live probably sometimes when I wasn't ready to do it, at his open mic for sure. But just being, again, a kind, encouraging,
Yeah,
person in this music scene that's been, welcoming and cool.
good. Well, Paul, appreciate you coming by today.
Yeah, man. I hope we talked about some fun stuff. I
Yeah.
feel like I talked a lot, but it's been
No,
enjoyable,
man.
and
That's
I
I wanted
appreciate
to.
the opportunity, man.
Yeah.
It's just cool what you're doing, and
Thank you.
I really listen to podcasts, and you're in my rotation, man. So it's an
Thank
honor to
you.
be here. I appreciate it.
I really appreciate that. I don't consider myself an interviewer. I don't consider myself a podcaster. I'm just I like to just sit down, hit record, and talk to people about music,
All
man.
about
So
shooting the shit on some good stuff.
exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, buddy. We'll see you. Thanks for listening. Know someone we should talk to? Give us a shout on Instagram at Austin Music People. Tell your friends, tell your family, and get out there and support Austin music.